Nuke 17.1 is officially out, and there are actually a quite few interesting updates in this release. The biggest one is Nuke 17.1 can now support Hydra 2.0. Nuke's new 3D system uses a Hydra 2.2 3D based support, which allows you to preview render delegates like Moonray and RenderMan in the 3D viewer. This flexibility allows you to visualize more from your 3D viewer, helping to more inform the choice of renderer. You can choose different Hydra render delegates directly inside the viewer. There is also a new Geo render node which allows to render delegate passes directly inside the nuke. You can use direct light, point light, and spotlight to relight the splats, and you don't need traditional position or normal passes to do it. For compositors, I think this is where the Gaussian splash started become much more interesting. It's not just I look scanned an environment in Nuke. We are slowly getting tools that can actually manipulate that environment and integrate into a shot as a 2D element. KeenTools released version 26.3. Recently, one of the bigger updates is GeoTracker for Houdini. Basically, GeoTracker lets you to do the object and camera tracking directly inside Houdini. So instead of jumping between different applications, doing tracking somewhere, exporting things and bringing them back, you can do more that work directly inside Houdini. And this is something I feel interesting because VFX software is slowly becoming less individual tools and more about keeping the artist inside one environment. You can see this everywhere, like Foundry, Houdini is become one of the most useful everything. Nuke is getting more 3D capabilities, Blender keeps expanding, and even tracking tools moving deeper into the 3D scene. So there is a price increase. Apparently, this is the first price increase since 2022. So from technological point of view, GeoTracker for Houdini is pretty interesting, but from an artist point of view, the license change is probably get more little bit on the discussion because we all know artists love two things: new tools and cheaper subscription. Now let's talk about AI. This is one of actually bigger than it might look. The Motion Picture Association and ByteDance have reached an agreement around AI generated videos and images. This is mainly about ByteDance, C-Dance, and C-Dream models. Earlier this year, MPA has concerns about these models generating copyright characters and likeness, and looks like they reached an agreement to strengthen the copyright protection and guardrails around this AI system. And honestly, this is probably where the industry is heading. AI isn't going away. The real fight is going to about what data is used, who owns the output, and most importantly, who is responsible when something goes wrong. For VFX artists, this is important because these models are slowly moving from fun internet toys to actual production workflows. And that's a very different situation. Topaz has been talking about Hyperion 2.5, how it's been using by the Darren Office case AI Studio. The interesting part is isn't just upscaling. They are talking about AI generated material, bringing in more professional finishing pipeline. The specific example is moving from 8-bit generative AI material to 10-bit professional video workflow. And this is where something I think VFX artists should pay attention to because there is a huge difference between AI can generate a cool video and AI generated material can actually survive inside a professional production pipeline because anyone can generate a pretty image but production is messy. You have color management, resolution, artifacts, consistency, stability, tracking, motion blur, grain, delivery specification, and clients creative feedback notes. And then they can say like, can we just make the face less percent weirder and brightness? That's production. So interesting part for me isn't that AI can make images. We known that for a while. The interesting part is how do we can AI generated material behave like a normal production material. That is where the things get serious. Story is probably the weirdest one this week. There is a Chinese animated movie called Niu Lai, also known as The Bull Comes, and this movie apparently had extremely tiny budget. We are talking about couple of $100 according to reports, and it was made over several years by a very small team, reportedly a mother and son. And visually, let's just say that's not notch quality. The animation has been heavily criticized, the storytelling is criticized, visual. And basically, people are saying this movie looks terrible. And that something very strange happened. People start watching it. The movie went viral. The negative reactions become publicity. People start making memes. People start talking about, and suddenly this tiny movie became a box office phenomenon, earning millions. This is where I think the story becomes interesting for VFX artists because we are trained to think better VFX equals better movie, better animation equals better movie, better details, realism becomes better movie. But audience don't always work that. Sometimes the thing looks bad is exactly what makes people interested. And this is where we are going to see more like this because AI is making polished visuals cheaper. If everyone can generate something that cinematic, then looking cinematic isn't necessarily special anymore. And that is something worth thinking about. And finally, GTA 6. We can have a VFX CG news roundup without talking about GTA 6 because apparently Rockstar cannot have one peaceful week. There have been new GTA 6 gameplay clips has been leaked online ahead of game's official gameplay premiere on Netflix upcoming week. The leaked footage reportedly shows part of characters' gameplay and parts of Vice Cities, and some of the footage has been removed through copyright claims. And Take Two is now taking legal steps to identify the person behind the leaks. People are analyzing lighting, animation, character model, facial animation, hair details, and hair movement, NPC behavior, every tiny detail. Basically, the internet had turned into a giant VFX daily session, and you have millions of people saying, "Bro, look at this NPC." That is actually fascinating because people don't necessarily need the final polished product become interested anymore. They want to see how it makes. They want to see behind the scenes. They want the process. And that is also why VFX breakdowns become more production content and become more popular. So, what do have all these stories in common? KeenTools is bringing more work directly into Houdini. Nuke is become more 3D capable with Gaussian splats. AI models become more part of professional production. Hollywood is starting to negotiate with AI companies instead of simply trying to stop them. 10 years ago, something had to look perfect. Now, it has to look believable, interesting, cheap, and sometimes it has to go to viral. And that might be the biggest change happening in the industry. Anyway, that's it for today's this week VFX news. Let me know if you what do you think about Nuke 17.1, AI copyright, Niu Lai, and all these interesting developments. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for topicroomvfx.com.